Hi everybody and welcome to Module 1. I have printed out the checklist and I'm going to kind of use it as a reference as I talk you through what you're going to be doing in this module. So this is a 3-week module, and I'll talk first about the discussions. There's 3 discussions that you're going to participate in, and then the second big thing is you have a philosophy paper due at the very end of the 3-week module. So let's talk about the discussions first, then we'll come back to that philosophy paper. Here during the first week of this 3-week module, so during week 1, you're going to be interacting in the first discussion board over the chapter 1 of your textbook. I want you to check out the video I've selected a video that I'd like for you to view from that chapter, and read the chapter prompt in the discussion board, and read chapter 1. You make an initial post, that's your first post based on the questions in the prompt, and then you also come in and you respond to 3 peers. So that first post you want to make by this Thursday night, and then your follow-up posts to your peers by the Sunday of this first week. Then in week 2, you have a discussion over chapter 6. So you read chapter 6, you have discussion, try to make your first post by the Thursday of week 2. Make all your follow-ups to your peers by the Sunday of that week. Then in that 3rd week, we jump back to chapter 2. There's a reason we went to chapter 6. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll jump back to chapter 2, read chapter 2, make your first post by the Thursday of that week, make your follow-ups by that Sunday. Okay? And there's also several videos that I want you to watch related to that chapter. All right, so chapter 1 gives you a sort of broad view of working in schools. Chapter 6 helps you think about how sort of our underlying beliefs about education. That's what it's going to try to get at. It's going to try to stir that up in you, make you think about how you were taught, what you thought about how you were taught. It's going to try to get you to think, maybe I could have been taught in a different way. Maybe there are other ways to do this. And what do I believe about good education? What makes a good sort of teaching and learning sort of scenario? How should one teach students? How should one work with clients? How do you approach a speech language client that needs help? How do you open up the session? How do you, so that's what this is about, your philosophy of how you interact with people in sort of teaching and learning and training sessions, okay? And so that's what chapter 6 tries to get at. We do that in week 2 because by the end of the 3rd week, you need to have written your own philosophy of education. Chapter 2, by the way, and I'm not going to go in depth here, but it's about, it's a little bit about special education. It's about the concept of learning styles. It's about difference, which is a huge challenge for teachers. It would be so easy, for a teacher or speech language pathologist if all of your students or clients had the same skills and abilities and knowledge. But there's a big sort of challenge for teachers is that there is so much difference. So how do you manage that? Well, before you figure out how to manage it, it's good to sort of think about difference, and that's what chapter 2 is all about. All right, so the philosophy paper then is at least 2 pages, double spaced, so that's not that much writing, but 2 pages where you get to draft out your philosophy of education. You're going to read chapter 6. You want to read chapter 6 before you do that, okay? Because chapter 6 gives us a common framework for talking about educational philosophy, and chapter 6 is sort of the assignment is based on chapter 6. It's based on specific questions presented in chapter 6. So if you want, if it helps you, sometimes a good student strategy is before you do your chapter 6 reading and your chapter 6 discussion board, all that stuff, it might help to start with the end and read the philosophy paper assignment. Now, it might be a little confusing too because it says philosophy paper 1. It is philosophy paper 1. There will be a follow-up philosophy paper. I'm going to look at the course plan just to kind of talk about when that one's due. So philosophy paper 1 is due at the end of this 3-week module on September 29th. Later in the semester, philosophy paper 2 will be due November 24th. I think that's the week before Thanksgiving. So philosophy paper 2 is a 1-pager. It's simply it's almost like an update to this paper based on some experiences you've had in this class. You've done further reading, you've done further discussing, and you've been in the field observing in a unique setting. So based on those experiences, it's sort of like an update to philosophy paper 1. It doesn't go over the same thing. You don't have to change your philosophy of education, but you talk about it based on your experiences. It could be some things have changed too. So that's fine. So that's what that's all about. We've just got this sort of book in. We start with philosophy paper 1. We kind of wrap it up in the end. One of the wrap-up activities is philosophy paper 2, just to keep it clear. Between the two of those, it's a minimum of 3 pages. That's not a lot, so don't be intimidated by the paper thing. All right, so that is our first module. Let me know how I can help. I do apologize for the lateness of getting this up. I have to confess, I could have gotten this up 5 days ago when one of you was asking me to do that, and I said, yeah, I'll try to do that. But I was trying to improve the way the discussion boards function. I personally find online discussions to be a little bit, for me, they're a little bit frustrating. I get a little overwhelmed by all of the information, by all of the text, and quite frankly, by the redundancy that because when everybody's answering the same question, and then you go read their posts, you're going to see a lot of redundancy, and that's a lot to make a student go through. I mean, I'm in an online doc program, and I face it every week in my classes, where I have to go through discussion boards, and I find it a little bit of a drudgery. But at the same time, I haven't gotten rid of them in my own classes yet because I feel like they have merit. I think it's good to talk to other people in your class who are going through the same experience and have a place to bounce ideas off of them. Now, it's not a place where you have to agree with everybody. Try to push yourself beyond just liking what they're saying and agreeing with them. Try to talk about these concepts with a few people. So obviously you can tell I don't expect you to read everybody's response, but since you do have to respond to at least 3 peers, you are reading at least 3 people's posts. So as you go through the semester, I encourage you to pick different people. Don't just latch on to the same ones. And I know I'm guilty of that. In my own program, I often will pick like 5 or 10 of the same people all the time. And I think some of that has to do with my liking the things they talk about. Like I have a lot in common with them. So it could be that you do the same thing. But I urge you to try out different people's posts and see what other people are talking about throughout the semester. Okay? So let me know if you have any questions, if you need any help. Oh, and I am going to cancel the forum moderation assignment. I'll tell you more about it later, but I'm going to cancel that. That was going to be extra discussion work that you guys were going to do, but I'm going to remove it. All right, so you guys have a great Module 1. I'm here to help you. I'm here to talk. You're not a bother when you call me, so please let me know how I can help, and I will give you feedback and come in and try to interact with you guys as much as I can on these discussion boards. All right, thank you.